going to start. So welcome everybody. Thanks so much for joining. This is our third session on designing your life with Tony Geary. It's a third out of 9 sessions. The first 2, as I mentioned before, were personal branding and strategic health, and this one is going to be on professional branding, and I think definitely going to be something that's fantastic and worthwhile. Tony Geary, for those that don't know, the executive coach, longtime friend, just fantastic person in all regards, and I refer to him, and several others do, really as the results guy. This session is just not to have us be talking to you, but certainly would love to have you ask any questions. We have the chat, Eloise, correct?
Yes, we do.
People can use the chat, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Sure.
if you have a question, we can do the chat. Tony may cold call on some of you here and there. And then you can see the slide up right now is actually the remaining sections. The one 2 weeks from now, November 10th, Strategic Relationships in a Virtual World. And you can see the other ones that basically go every other Tuesdays. Thus, it's called Tuesdays with Tony. So anyway, Tony, take it away.
Thanks, guys. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Great.
You know, this is a really cool subject, the subject of your professional brand. And I'd like to start off by just saying that most people would agree that we all have a reputation or a brand. No big news. Here's the news, though, we'd like to start off with. It is big news to say that most people could be more strategic about building their brand. And so what I've done over the last 10 or 15 years is developed a system for being able to help get clearer on the brand you want to put out to the world and the person you want to become. And we're about to share that with you over the next few minutes. What do you think, Tucker?
We're ready to rock here.
What do you think, Phil?
I am ready.
So what happened to me is I got an opportunity back in 1991 to help turn around Chrysler, one of the biggest opportunities of my life. And during that time, I got to work with the marketing people and advertising people behind the brands. One of the brands at the time was Dodge. And Dodge had an agency that said, if you would put each vehicle on one page and say, what is that vehicle all about? Then all of your messaging, all your communication, all of your advertising and everything would tie back to that one page. And that way you would get the highest impact, or you would get the highest impact, if you would, on the message you want to get out to the world by taking all of your communication and zeroing it in on that one page. So I developed a system called the Branding Matrix for an individual or a company to do exactly that same thing. Randy, did you know that's where the history was?
I did not know. I remember my parents had a Dodge Dart. I don't know if I could have any exciting words to describe that, that's for sure.
Man, that was Lee Iacocca's on the way out deal, wasn't it? You remember the darts? Wow. That was, he actually had ups and downs a couple of times. Lee was quite an amazing guy, a special brand in itself. So let's go into this. Help me out if you would, Will, please. For some reason, it's not clicking very quickly, and I would like for it to. Okay, so our purpose is to raise your awareness on your own personal brand and that of the brand of your organization. So Phil, this could apply to you in a couple of different ways. In fact, most of the people that are with us watching, it can apply to you as an individual or apply to your organization. We're going to put most of the emphasis on you as an individual. The way we're going to divide the process up is divided into 4 areas. We'll go ahead and hit it for me if you would. 4 areas, let's click them over. There we go, thank you. Defining your brand, documenting the characteristics that really define you or define me, you, and look for items that you want to eliminate. So the entire training that we have here is divided into 21 items, and those will be divided into these 4. So let me continue on with the setup under defining the brand before we dig into the specific 21. So what do we do just, Will, since it's broken, let's just, every time I click, if you would, just add 1. Thanks. We have a delay today. And click. All right. So better understanding of your own brand. And then what we're going to do, Randy and I, in our rehearsal, decided that we would talk a little bit about what we've done for him over the last, has it been 10 years, Randy? really thinking about how you refine
Yeah,
who
at
you
least.
are and how you're right. And we want to even include things like an exercise on item number 14 about how you perceive yourself and how other people perceive you. And that's an interesting distinction that we want to cover as well. And then the last piece there, how to manage your brand better, if you will, especially in the electronic world that we're in. So defining your brand, go ahead, Will, if you would. Okay, just go ahead, click it. There we go. A personal brand is a widely recognized and largely unified perception or impression of someone. And it can be positive or negative, as we all know, or it can be in between. And obviously, we want to have more positive than we want negative. And personal brands may be deliberately modified. Check this out, deliberately modified. That means all of us can cruise through life. We can be good guys, and we can create lots of results, and we can make great impact, and we can close deals and make things happen, and we have a brand. And or we can be more deliberate and say, what are we really best at? Like, what do we want to double down on? What do we want to put out to the world? How do we enhance our credibility? How do we differentiate ourselves? And all those are choices when we think about our brand. So a lot of people, again, cruise through life, and they have a lot of successes, and they make a lot of things happen, and they have a reputation, they have a brand. But what I'm saying is most people, the key word here on this one is they aren't as deliberate as they could be. And I'm suggesting in our training in this particular module that you can be more deliberate. Okay. The process involves finding your uniqueness, understanding what's a reputation you want to be known for, and again, what message do you want to convey out to the world, as well as understanding that you can become. When I talk about goal setting, most of you have heard about, or many of you have heard about my goal setting. In my goal setting, I teach Randy the idea about not just what you want to have, what you want to share, give, experience, and most importantly, become. So when you do this exercise, it can push you, if you will, to think about who you want to become. There's 10 items here. I'll let you digest the 10. You know, when you put and look at the things that are out there today on the web, you know, do you have good pictures? Do you have good headshots you like? Are you discoverable online? You know, obviously today everybody's on LinkedIn. And you know, when you look at your LinkedIn, is it saying the things that you should? Tucker, what have you been discovering for yourself on LinkedIn over the last month or so as we've been talking about a lot of these pieces? Anything you'd share?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, personally, there's a difference between, you know, having a LinkedIn and being out there, but then being deliberate in exactly what it is you're trying to portray. And I think in going through the branding matrix and seeing things such as brand description, mission statement, brand power, there are all these things that you can really boil down and be a lot more deliberate on, which I know I personally, after going through that and then looking at my own LinkedIn, where I once thought I was, you know, feeling pretty good about the Tucker Garfield brand, now it's, wait a second, I could definitely go back and take a microscope, look at it through a microscope, and you know, tidy some things up.
Let's get everybody involved here, Randy. On item number 2, if you were going to rate yourself, Phil, Eric, everybody's on the line, if you're going to rate yourself on a 1 to 10 on how deliberate you've been on your online brand, 10 being really high and 1 being really low, give us a number if you wouldn't mind, and any comment or two. Randy, you want to start off? How deliberate have you been? 1 to 10.
Yeah, I'd say probably compared to what I was pre-COVID, I'm a 10. But reality is, if I were to do a steady state, it's probably a 6, and it's really forced me to go back and really, you know, look and leverage and use and you know, kind of comment and, you know, just reestablish relationships. It's amazing.
And shouldn't we give a shout out to Jesse? I mean, he's pushed his boat in that way as well, right? And over the last few months working with him, he's like pushing us. Phil, what about you? What goes to come to your mind?
You know, I would rate myself at a 7 for specific reasons. One is I limit the number of social media sites that I'm on. So I'm strong on LinkedIn, but I stay out of Twitter, Facebook, any of the other social medias, because I got to be careful, especially in the position that I'm in now, that I am very limited in nature. So that's why I'm that way. But LinkedIn has become such a powerful tool in connecting the right people that we really need to be involved with.
Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I've been learning a lot this year as well for online brands. I think I'd give myself an 8. I've done quite a bit of work on my LinkedIn and always trying to optimize it over the last couple of years, but kind of set up a Twitter brand this year as well and trying to build a couple other channels, but always trying to make it better. And I think like a platform like LinkedIn is always changing. So trying to learn what the best practices are there and like what's actually working best for getting connected with people without, I guess there's that line of being too spammy or maybe too salesy. So I want to be thoughtful about that and kind of avoid those issues.
And I think from both Phil, your comment and Eric's comment there, it's not like one size fits all. It's what the point is being strategic about it. Richard, you chatted, you gave us a chat about a 7. You want to speak on that? What's going on in your mind?
Yeah, I think typically in a transition with COVID and also a job change, and what I've found over the years as well is kind of, your head's down when you're at work and doing your job. When it comes time for a major transition or a change, it gives you the opportunity to step back and not only network with everybody in your network, but evaluate and reassess kind of where you are and where you're at. And I've been through the process of that over the last few months, and I think I've made a lot of improvements on certainly my LinkedIn. And also my methodology of, kind of, where I want to go and what I want to do.
Thank you. Let's go back to you, Phil. One of the things that might apply to you, Phil, that others might be thinking about is who on your team, Phil, in your case, who's on your executive team that you might want to have them be thinking about their own presence to another level, their own brand, and what they're putting out there. Have you already gone that way with some of your key people, Phil?
Yeah, we have. And, I mentioned Twitter. We do have a company Twitter account, and so we do that. But everybody on the team has really got to take a look at their LinkedIn profile, how they're presenting themselves. Is the information accurate? Everybody does know that LinkedIn and any other social media site is really a place for people to do a whole lot of background checking on you. And so I'm involved in a lot of acquisitions and a lot of publicly traded information. So I've got to be careful at some times on what I'm saying, where I'm saying it, and I've got to do that with my whole management team.
Yep, Phil, and I think that applies to everybody on the call. Randy, you agree?
Yeah, very, very much so.
So how about this one? So if you look at these 10 items, what we want to do today to make our time valuable is I want to push you on things you hadn't thought about. So as we go through this system, and Randy and I are going to be sharing each one of these items, some of them you're going to go, I got it. But maybe every fourth one you're going to go, that's a good one. I could be a little tighter in that area. So we're going to really zero in. And at the end, we end up with number 8, where you kind of have a branding statement. And the branding statement is kind of like, what's the 8 or 10 words you want people to say about you? So if you're going to say, what do you want people to say about you, Randy? You want people to say that the guy is always delivering value. He's extremely connected. He is into doing favors, and he loves helping people win and sell more. I mean, that's kind of what I got for Randy. Is that accurate for you, Randy?
Yes, but others on the phone that know me better might choose to differ.
And what?
Others on the phone may choose to differ, but yeah, sounds good to me.
And so again, being that specific, like I want people to think of me as someone that's always giving value. I'm all about results. And my big thing is clarity, focus, and execution. When you think of me, you think about, can this guy really help me? Does he care? Does he have a team to help me do what I want to do better? And that's kind of the brand I want to be out there, So all the things that I'm teaching in this training, we do our best to live out as well. So let's dig in now. And at the end, we'll end up with everybody having a few choice words for your own branding statement if you haven't done that. So all these steps kind of list out. We're going to hit number 8, and you want to use the template that we sent you out before. So starting with the first question here, or actually it's question number 2 on the template. The first we're going to use today, we're going to start with number 2, go all the way down to 21, and then we'll come back to number 1. What are the core characteristics that are valuable to your effectiveness? So what do you want people to really understand about the value you bring to the world? Are you a great leader? Are you influential? Are you motivational? Are you a networker? Do you really do things strategic? Like, what's some of the key words? And if you want, as we're following through here, please feel free to just jot some things down. Take a picture of any of the slides that you want. And then that way at the end, we end up having where you're not having to go do work some more. You're actually doing the work as we're doing this together. Tucker, is that all right?
Sounds good.
Yeah, we just do 2 things at once, right? As we're kind of expanding our thinking, we're also writing things down. So what are the 2 or 3, 4 things for you that you really want to bring out to life, to the world, that you're good at, you know? The next one is business priorities. Here's something that I think a lot of times we don't get zeroed in on as much as we could. When we're clear on our business priorities, that can help us with our brand. You know, are you clear on your high leverage activities? Do you want to be a person that really invests your time on the things that matter the most? Then part of your brand's going to be going, wow, this person is very time efficient, right? Like if that's a priority and you live that out, people go, wow. I remember, Phil, one time I had a meeting with my builder. This is years ago. And I said, I'm coming to to the bank building today. Your office is there. Could I come by and see you for about 7 minutes? He said, sure. So I go to the bank, do some bank business. I go up to his office. I walk down, open up my binder. I go over some things. And 7 minutes later, I go, hey, 7 minutes is up. Time to go. And I get up to walk over and he goes, well, I've got more than 7 minutes. And I go, well, I don't. And he started laughing at me. And he's like, you're serious? I'm like, I only wanted 7 minutes. And so what I think by us having clear on our priorities and how we live out priorities, it's an extension of our brand. And I become known for a person that just doesn't like to waste time. So just think about that, what your priorities are and what you want to put out there as another item to fill out as you're kind of moving towards this brand statement and more clarity. The next area is 2 areas that are on the screen: characteristics that describe you and characteristics that don't describe you. Like, I don't want to be looked at as being a person that's slow. Like, just the opposite. I want to be looked at as a person that's fast. And so characteristics that I don't want to be thought of is I'm not late for appointments. I don't want to be a person to be thought of as I drag things out, that I'm demeaning. And, you know, sometimes I go so fast, I have to watch that one. Being over-prepared is what I want on the left side. What I don't want is being under-prepared. So let's have some comments on these. Phil, as you look at this, what's a couple things that you want to be known for, characteristics for you?
Yeah, I'll say proactive, and Randy may remember this from our days at Hewlett Packard, but Meg Whitman pounded into me, I'd rather have a fast no than a slow yes. And so we are very proactive in what we're doing. And if we go down the path and we can't figure out whether this is a yes or a no, we move on, go do something else, but be proactive all the time.
Got it. Love it, Phil. Love it about you.
Tony, before Joe Barrows put it in the chat, it's pretty thoughtful thinking about LinkedIn. Blocking time for mindful thought for LinkedIn and others is something I've tried to do a lot more in the last couple of years. Be mindful of what I send, how I send it, who will see it, etc. Think before you send as it reflects on you, like it or not. So I think that ties into some of what Phil was saying, which is obviously you got to watch. Watch out. And I think just from Joe's comment here, obviously thoughtfulness would be one of his characteristics.
Yep. Good.
Thank
you. Yep. I mean, you can, like, when you walk in my office, like, I have one big giant word in my office, and the word's think. And it's like most people don't think enough. You know, you got to think about your brand. You got to think about your people. You got to think about what you write. You got to think about what you do with your time. And most people just don't do it. My late president, before he passed away, he was Zig's president from 1990 to 96. He became my president 10 years later in 2006. And when he became my president, one of the first things he said was, Tony, you help people think, and thinking's hard. And I go, Jim, thinking is not hard. And he said, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. Anybody can do it. He said, but they don't. They just keep doing. They got big to-do lists, so they just do. And they don't think a whole lot. And I'm like, wow, okay, I guess that's right. You think a little bit, but to really step back and think about your brand, think about your people, think about what you send. That's an important message that Randy and I are sharing today in this training. Thinking matters. What truly makes me unique? This is a big one, guys. You know, for Randy, one of the things that really is a kind of a memory peg is being one of the first employees of EMC, number 33 employee. When you put that out there, that speaks a lot. It's like you think of the success of EMC and how things have grown over the last decades. You know, that is a separator. Being able to talk about different wins that you've had, different experiences you've had, what really separates you. For me, I helped turn around Chrysler. I used that a long time. I was a nobody until that happened. And when that started happening, then I got the president of Ford. And then when that started happening, I got the president of Sam's. And then when that started happening, I got the president of Walmart. And so if I didn't have that uniqueness of really the 5 years with Chrysler, you know, I probably wouldn't have been stair-stepping up. And so what really makes you unique is powerful. Randy, you want to comment on this one?
Yeah, and I think all this is just kind of just being self-reflective. And then I'll kind of digress here. I dug up, I think we talked about it yesterday, but I had done something you had me do a couple of years ago, but it was kind of on your own branding. And the thought would be, this is kind of, we all know what we think of ourselves, but the trick is what do others think of. So what I ended up doing was came up with 6 different groups. I got about 60 people to respond. John Iacone by chance was one I just saw, but put them into groups of clients and board people that I know, personal friends, college friends, work friends, family, and then charities that I work with, and then, you know, get feedback from them as to what they think and what they said, which was very, very enlightening for me as well. So that would be another exercise you may want to do. And the way I did, I just sent out, you know, random text and say, hey, you know, quick, you know, 3 words that you think of when you think of me. So it might be interesting for y'all to try.
Has anybody else done that, guys? Anybody ever done that where you send out just a note to some of your colleagues and ask them to give you a few words back of how they perceive you? Anybody done that? Eric, you ever done that?
Not deliberately, no. We do it as part of some 360 reviews at some of the companies I've worked for. So I've gotten the feedback that way, but not anything that I deliberately went out and did.
Here's something else. If you haven't ever done this, sometime when you're at a family dinner, take a paper napkin and a pen, give everybody a paper napkin, and have everybody give about 3 words that describe how they see you on a personal brand standpoint. Pass the card around, pass the napkin around, and then soon you get the napkin back, and there's where your family thinks about you. You know, like
that's great.
I think I'm going to try that over Thanksgiving dinner.
If you have them give positive words that if they think about you, you might want to add that, not just words, but positive words, so it's a good experience. You know, what do you think, John?
I think it's an interesting concept. I'm not sure I would pull it off with my family, or rather see what they have to say about it.
Yeah, I think my kids would label me as a know-it-all.
Right. Same here.
You know, that's interesting. You know, one of the things we really want, and this is an interesting, my daughter was asking me to help her buy a house in the last 48 hours. And it's like, how do you balance the wisdom and the experience that you've had, both your failures and your wins, to where your kids really want to come after you for the brand you have to them and give you your advice, right? You know, like, what do you not do and what do you do? And that's kind of like an important piece to the life puzzle, you know?
Yeah, Tony, I think it's a balance, right? I think if you were to survey our kids with us being know-it-alls, or if you think about your own experience of your own father at that same age, I would say I thought my father was a know-it-all too. It took me having kids and buying my first house to realize, you know what, the old man knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, so interesting. Yep.
It's funny. It makes me think of when my 2 kids were growing up. You know, their questions to me were, you know, my older guy was, well, Dad, you're going to leave me the business, right? And my younger guy's question was, well, Dad, if I were to come into your business, what would I need to learn to take over for you, right? So 2 totally different aspects. And I look at each kid, I go, how did I get 2 kids with that kind of difference, right, between them?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a powerful set of 45 seconds of words, right?
Right.
It's different. And they see the world differently. And
Yeah.
not always differently, but somewhat, based on their personalities, their teachers, what they've done,
Right.
all those things play out. Let's keep going. Packaging, what are tools that you use? Like, have you written white papers? Have you published articles? Have you done blogs, podcasts? All those things play out in the way you package yourself. Has anybody intentionally done some like white papers or published an article or two, or anybody want to comment on how you've done that? A podcast? Anybody?
I mean, I've been involved with doing a lot of articles more as a proactive marketing kind of thing. You buy the space and the magazine provides an interview for you and they showcase you. So I have quite a few of those out there.
Yeah. I just think packaging is important. And again, you can be intentional or not. It's not like everybody needs to be intentional if you don't want to be. Randy and I are saying, you probably should be, right? Your visual image, like how often do you change and update your clothes? Like, you got to ask yourself, when you walk into a room, there's this visual impression of you in the way, the glasses that you wear. I got called on the carpet about 6 years ago from one of my friends, and she told me, she's like, dude, you dress like an old man. And I'm like, well, I'm getting older. She's like, but don't dress old. And I was like, wow. And I went in my closet, and sure enough, it's like, wow, I was like dressing old. And now my wife thinks I dress too young, but I want to do the difference, where it's like, wow. And so some of us need to be thinking about, today when we show up on screen, we've kind of got our shoulders up and our hands and what's behind us. And that's kind of the visual image of today's world, right? And a lot of people aren't really thinking about what's behind you, I want to have what's behind me, and to see that reflection, that should be moved. Well, would you move the reflectors down? I didn't catch that today, right? You really need to be thinking about what's behind you. And the lights, do you have good lighting like this of your face so you're not dark? I mean, all those things are visual image today that we can be sloppy about it, or we can be more intentional. Phil, do you have a light on you?
I've got a window behind me, and I've got Tony Jerry books on the bookshelf.
$2 for Phil. Randy, would you punch that over? Digital dollars go to Phil.
Got it.
All right, man. Thanks, Phil. All right, here we go.
Tony, one thing about packaging, and I've been playing around with the last couple months, of how to use video to present myself differently. So if I'm cold calling or reaching out to people for the first time, I may just send them a 3-minute or 2-minute video about myself. What do I like about the industry I'm in? Why do I like the company I work with? And here's 30 seconds of what I do in my personal time. Or,
that's cool.
Nothing new on this, but before my first meetings of, here's 4 minutes on the 7 questions I get every time. Watch this. So when we actually meet, we're not screwing around. And I think that then goes to setting the tone for, I'm not here to waste your time. And if you don't watch it, you're wasting mine. So you're probably not someone I want to talk with anyway.
Love it, Joe. Love it. And again, the whole thing that Randy had with his vision of sales community is exactly what's happening right now. It's not like just find people that have written books like me or happen to really zero in as a coach. It's sales community. It's sharing these ideas like Joe just said. And so we want to, when Randy and I are doing these, and other people with Randy are doing them, we want it to really be where everybody's pitching in and we're sharing best ideas. So if everybody's investing, 45 minutes to an hour in a subject that you might like, we want the best, the best, the best. So please, guys, keep sharing, right, Randy?
Absolutely.
Just like the book Randy and I are writing right now, we want to make sure that people are sharing. And I'm going to say 1/3 of the book, Randy, is other people sharing best ideas. So it's like we're taking the time to package it and organizing it, but we want it to be where the image that we bring out is the best of the best, All right, let's keep going. Mission statement. This is an interesting one. Not everybody wants to do it. What kind of rolls around in your mind that filters? Like, are you a cost person? Are you a culture person? Are you a benefits to everybody person? Are you an empowering person? And, whatever your statement is, if you have one, it's going to have some of these things in it that would help filter the way that you lead, manage, sell, The next one is your brand power. What's the thrust behind your brand? The thrust behind my brand started, as I just shared, with Chrysler. I had the opportunity to turn around one of the largest companies in the world, help turn around. And that just gave me all kinds of thrust, if you will, into my consultancy. And before that, I'm like a guy that made some money and lost some money, and then so that thrust really helped me. What would you say, Randy, was the thrust behind kind of your brand? I mean, was Hewlett Packard part of it? Was EMC part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just lucky, and Rich Dyke probably say the same thing. We're just lucky we landed the right place at the right time. So I think to a certain degree, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
The way it works, man. It's the way it works, All right, so next one is, let's see, after brand power, let's punch these up. We've got 3 examples here of some companies that have really pulled out. How about, do you have a tagline? My tagline is one of my book titles. I think most of you may have heard of it, called Life is a Series of Presentations. And I think we're presenting all the time. We're presenting to our kids. We're presenting to people impromptu. We're presenting to a waiter or waitress in a restaurant. We're presenting all the time. And how you present, are you nice to someone? Are you respectful to someone? Are you thankful to people? My kids called me on the carpet about 7 years ago. I was in California, and my kids were cold, and it wasn't real cold, it was just a little cold. And we were at an outdoor restaurant, and I was attempting to get the waiter or waitress to come over and put a heater next to my family because I didn't want them to be cold. And I'm like, I didn't yell at them. I just kind of like, my tone was not real friendly. It's like, hey, I've asked you like 3 times, can you bring us a heater over? And my kids called me on it. They're like, Dad, you were a little bit like, Now what I'm thinking is, I'm there to protect my family. But what my kids perceived it was, Dad, you're a little tough on the waiter and waitresses here. And so I'm thinking, my tagline, life is a series of presentation. I'm presenting as the leader of my family. And I went over and apologized. And I was like, wow, I was like a little bit too strong there. And so I just ask us all to think about, do you have a tagline that really is part of who you are, that you live out? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, maybe you should have. Mine is that we're presenting all the time, Any comments on that, taglines? And by the way, on all these 20 that we're going through, if one doesn't really turn you on or you don't really care about it, no problem, right? Take the whole message that we're talking about here, and that's being more deliberate and more strategic about your brand. Looking at the next segment here, positioning. Like, are you positioned as a leader? Are you positioned as a sales manager? Are you positioned as a consultant, an advisor, an expert in storage? What is your positioning in the market that people want to know about you? So Joe or John or anybody, when you think about that question about positioning, what goes through your mind? Would you mind sharing what goes through your mind? Anybody?
It's an interesting question. I mean, I try to think, I've always tried to play in a world of finding early stage companies with interesting technologies I haven't done before and making them work. So like, it's an interesting thing to position, because in that world, I've done a couple different types of jobs, whether it's sales or marketing or both, or sales management. So it's just, I try to just position it of one of bringing mind share to the role versus it being a specific role.
John, what's on your mind?
In my case, it's leadership, and I try to act the way I want my people to act, right? I had the luxury of meeting Izzy Sharp. Izzy Sharp is the founder of the Four Seasons Hotel. Happened to be vacationing in Costa Rica, one of his newer hotels at the time, going back 15 years ago. And he happened to be giving a speech at the hotel. He had just came there to visit it. And, they invited some of the clients and the customers to come and see him speak. So I went, and the one question he was asked, which was a pretty interesting question, is how do you get everybody to act the same way in all of the different hotels that you have? And he went on to say that, look, we've discovered over time, we've went through every management training possible in trying to teach people what to do. And he said, after years of spending money on all of this, what it came down to was one thing and one thing only. And that is the way your managers act or the way you want your people to act. And if you can follow that one rule, you'll be fine moving forward. So I thought it was an interesting concept.
That's good. I love that property. It has the double beach, right? One beach on each side.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
I love that property. Business motto. My business motto is give value, do more than expected. When you walk in my foyer, that is right on my foyer. When someone joins me, before they even are hired, we put in front of them that that's our motto. That's our mantra. What we want to do is be able to look for ways that we can give more. Do we miss sometimes? Yeah. That's our motto. I'm clear on it. Anybody else want to share on having a personal motto or a business motto that you go, hey, this is who I am? Anybody, like always do a favor, always be a follow-up. Phil, you said yours is proactive, right? That's kind of part of your makeup.
Yeah, it is. And I would say our tagline for RT Core is software for the connected economy. We've built a real-time core processing system that will run 24 hours a day. And we're connecting different economies together with our software.
Love it. Anybody else?
Tony, this is Jim. I would say I have different mottos for both business and personal life. Business, we've talked, for obvious reasons, we've talked a lot about this year that it's always about the numbers, but it's not always about the numbers. How we've performed in the face of adversity is different this year. We've seen forecasts and the numbers down, but how we've represented our business and ourselves to the executives or management had to be better than in the past, simply because you couldn't just rely on, hey, I was 200% of my number. We had a lot of people have to reinvent and redesign the way they approach the business. And in life, I think it's always been treat others how you expect to be treated yourself.
Again, I'm pushing some thinking. Let me repeat again. Probably not every one of these really applies to everybody or is going to excite everybody. A few of them might. We'll talk at the end which ones do. How people perceive you, as Randy said, it's a great exercise. Send an email out and have people send back. Like, you can even go, give me 3 characteristics that's like my good ones and 3 that I need to work on. I mean, if you really want to go deep, and that way you can find out what you're missing about yourself. That's an interesting one, doing it with your family as well. If you really want to, like 360 it in a shortcut method, a shortcut way. Attributes prized in a workplace. What do people really care about? Are you a person that always delivers? Are you a person that is really tight? Are you a person that really communicates well? Are you motivational? Are you very innovative? Are you calm? Like, that's a great characteristic that a lot of people, when you're dealing with pressure and distinctions, if you can be calm, that's something I've been working on myself for many years, because I don't want to get upset and, raise my voice. And I want to be, hey, things happen. Life's not perfect. The world doesn't revolve around me as much as I want it to be. And I like that. Like many of us, it's like, hey, why does this not happen? And being calm. Attributes are a thing to write down, I think. Let me keep going. Passions. Here's one. Are you passionate about helping people? I think that's something that Randy's passionate about. He loves helping people. In fact, what we're doing with sales community that most of you know, but if you don't, is like, he's like, let's make it friendly. Let's make it valuable. Let's make it holistic. Randy, any comments you want to make about that passion of being valuable? That's kind of like a chip for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. And digress a little bit. Joe has a great comment up here on the chat. It says, no recurring value equals no recurring revenue. So
that's good.
We all do it for the right reasons, but recurring revenue, especially in this state of MRR or ARR, is a great saying, Joe. Thanks.
Reoccurring value. I'm writing that one down, Joe. Thank you. Thanks for grabbing that, Randy. I saw it, but I didn't absorb it. Being passionate. Anybody else? Phil, anything you want to comment on, or Tucker, anything on passion?
I think we've got to be passionate about everything we do. It could be about our company. It could be about ourselves. It could be about our friends. And that really shows the way we personally are. Are we passionate about what we're doing?
Yep. I'm passionate about learning and sharing, man. I just love that to learn things. I love to pass it on and help people be better. Here's an interesting one. This is down towards the bottom of the list. You know, what are your real communication opportunities today versus 6 months ago? Like, do you have one-on-ones with people? Do you have institutional investors, Phil? That's going to be part of your life either now or soon. You know, what are your, you know, I was coaching the president of Walmart, as you might remember, Phil, and he had analyst meetings. You know, those analysts then were spreading word out about Walmart, and those were communication opportunities about his company and his brand. You know, the QBRs and different things that we do in many of our businesses, trainings, all these different communication opportunities, including how people see us on LinkedIn. And, you know, what are the things that matter and what are the things you want to make sure that you're really good at? You know, when I show up, you know, I want to show up fresh in my face. I want to show up with energy. I want to show up with a you know, a shirt on. Yesterday, Randy got me, he saw me in a white shirt. He about freaked out, didn't you, Randy?
Absolutely.
He's like, rehearsal day, where's your black shirt, bud? I was like, Randy, it's rehearsal day. He's like, where's your black shirt, bud? Anyway, communication opportunities, they matter. Any comment on that? Like, what are your big ones? Like, you're going to have meetings. You're going to have investor meetings, right, Phil? That's going to become part of your life if it's not already. You got client meetings, customer meetings, update meetings, and then what Joe is saying there about the reoccurring value, how you communicate that reoccurring value, progress reports, you know, how you're doing a briefing, where we're at, all those distinctions. And generally we have 3, 4, 5, 6 that are big ones. Where are you after in your brand? Like the whole universe. Are you after everybody? Are you after other executives? Are you after investors? Are you after team members? Are you after people in the finance world, people in the IT world? Like, where are you really branding towards? That's an interesting thing to answer for yourself. You know, it's not like, for most of us, it's not the whole world. There's certain segments that we want to really brand towards. There's 2 more left, and then we'll bring it to closure. And then I'd like to ask everybody to share maybe your biggest takeaways, or at least a few people. Real world roadblocks could be the way your company is, their state of the state of their the state of your company could be a roadblock for you. There could be political things. There could be, you know, if it's a family business, if there's issues there that could cause things to be a roadblock for your brand or your advancement. And then the second to last one here is your internal barriers. You know, your self-talk, how you see yourself, what you say to yourself. You know, do you have skills? Do you say you're organized, not organized? Like, self-talk's a big deal. You got to ask yourself, is that a barrier for you? And then you wrap it all up, bring it together. You know, what's your footprint? What's your brand? You know, do you do things where you're really researching and understanding how you can be credible? You know, do you have assets that you're sharing with others that's part of who you are? I love it when I can find something of value and I share a URL, I share a video with somebody and they go, wow, that's really great. And then you become known as someone of real value. And I think that's powerful. So bottom line, here's question number 1 on your matrix. In essence, what do you want people to say about you? What's your 6, 8, 10, 12 words? If you combine all the things that you thought about, wrote down in the matrix, what do you really want people to say? And that's kind of the big takeaway from what we're getting at. Let's go through and just pick a few people. Maybe Tucker, if we want to start with you, and we'll go to Phil and John. What are you really taking away from our time together in this training that could be valuable for you or your team? Tucker, what's going on in your mind?
Yeah, and I think, you know, not only today, but through the last couple sessions we've done too, just the whole notion of accountability. I know that's huge for you, Tony, and I think, you know, the self-talk that you had just mentioned, like all of this builds upon each other, and, you know, being intentional and deliberate and holding yourself accountable, I think, is the biggest thing here. So, you know, when you have the list up of characteristics that you do and that do describe you and don't describe you, you know, you have the ability to go through and say, hey, this is not how I want to be perceived by others. Let's put down the characteristics that I don't want it to describe me. And then I can sort of refocus on, okay, then what can I do differently to change that and turn that into, the list of characteristics that I would want to be described by others by. So, you know, for me, motivational, thorough, compassionate, trusting, and adaptive were my biggest takeaways on that list. You know, just the process of writing it down is holding myself accountable, and it's now just a matter of taking action here.
Tucker, how about this? Most people don't even see being intentional on their window. And then once you do, then they don't take the time to write stuff down. They go, okay, that's a good idea. Probably need to be more deliberate. But they're squatters. And you guys know what that is. It's someone that has good information, doesn't do squat about it, right? So you can take this information, Randy, right? They can take it or not. Phil, what went through your mind in the last 45 minutes?
Yeah, so just one comment about sharing videos. Somebody shared a video with me, and I pushed it out to other people this week by Guy Kawasaki, and it was the top 12 things that he learned from Steve Jobs. And it had nothing to do with Apple itself, had everything to do with some key things. And I can forward it on to Randy, and he can push it out to everybody. But, you know, the key things that I really grabbed onto from this session were, I want to be known as a strong leader, the leadership style. I want to have clarity of vision and goals. I got to focus. Got to be proactive every single day, being proactive, reaching out to people. Randy and I tend to do that quite a bit together. And I'll just say, I like what Randy's done in terms of, I asked for a meeting with him this week. He shot me a note back and goes, go ahead and schedule it on my calendar. And he blocks 30 minutes only. So if I can't tell him what I need to know in 30 minutes, I'm screwed. So, you know, I've got to be focused. I want to be innovative. I want to bring the best software to the industry in an innovative way. And back to Randy again, sell, 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 sell.
Appreciate you, Phil. You know, we've been friends for a long time. I appreciate you always being so succinct. 4 good ones there. John.
Hey, we got one, sorry, here. Margarita, sorry if I said your name wrong, but she said, this is great. Biggest takeaway, 8 to 10 words on your brand. Once you figure that out, that will drive the other areas to build out on, which is really well said.
Yep.
And I'll just chime in. When you think about your branding, maybe a little morbid, but you know, one thing is, what do you want people to say about you at your wake or your funeral, or kind of after you pass? And that kind of puts a whole nother kind of level of thought process into that, you know, not just the work, but obviously the non-work aspect of your life as well.
100%, Randy. John, what's on your mind? What'd you take away you could use? What's valuable for you? John, I think you're on mute. John, mute.
Yep, sorry about that. The one thing that hit home for me, and I'm a little embarrassed to say this, I probably haven't looked at my LinkedIn profile in about 10, 15 years, and it was written by some marketing person when it was written. So I need to go back clearly and take a different view of what that really is out there for, and make it sort of mine this time, right? So I appreciate learning that today. My core values, I have honesty, caring, integrity. Say what you do, but do what you say.
Yep, good, John. I appreciate you being transparent there too, John. You know, one of the things I think that Randy, again, envisions with this community is it's like we're all doing better and better and better. And we have failures, and we have blind spots, and we have things that we truly are out there doing life, right, in this community. And how do we help each other get better? And a lot of people go through and they don't read a book a year, 3 books a year. They read nothing. Now, they watch some videos. It's pretty much forced to you today to watch some videos. But to invest a few hours a month, 2 or 3 hours a month in sales community, you know, it's huge if we just get better and better and better by sharpening from each other. Who else on the line? Anybody? 1 or 2 more people like to share takeaways? Anybody?
I'll share a quick one.
Does
Tony, yeah, this was just a good reminder. I've got some opportunities to go, the audience and who's your audience, who's your prospect. I haven't updated that in a while, and I've realized my job has changed this year. I've taken on some new roles at some other companies, and I haven't really gone back and thought about how my brand has now changed because of that, and I need to go back and kind of do some updates there.
Cool. Again, thanks for being transparent. Randy, you want to close this out?
Yeah, just really want to appreciate everybody. It's great, lots of great feedback. A lot of you put yourselves out there. Again, this will be posted on Sales Community. Our next one is 2 weeks from now, November 10th, Strategic Relationships in a Virtual World. And I know there's lots of members here already. And for those that aren't, go check it out, salescommunity.com. And Tucker, Tony, as always, thank you very much.
Help us spread the word, guys.
Hey, great. Thank you guys for doing this.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everybody.
Have a good day.
You guys, thanks.